forgotten how to grab.
Yes, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with episode 6 today. Man, we've been pumping them out, right? Episode 6?
Or 7. I can't remember.
I think it's 6. I think we're on episode 6. Yesterday, we did a podcast, so you guys are going to get a bunch back-to-back. We did Shit Show Saturday yesterday, and we talked about this week in fall 2018 anime. But today we're going to be talking about a movie I had him watch because our game night got delayed. So we watched Kono Katachi last night, or A Silent Voice. Yeah. And I'm not going to lie, I probably overhyped it a little bit to him. The whole night I was like, man, this is my favorite movie. I can't wait to make you watch it. It's my favorite movie. I love this anime movie. It's great. People are super hyped on Kimi no Wa, which I plan on having him watch as well. But this is my favorite movie, and I was really excited to have him watch it. And from what I understand, he enjoyed it. So we're just going to do a pretty short podcast today. We don't have a whole lot of time with Andrew today. But I just wanted to get an episode up, hang out, chat about it. He wanted to do an episode on this, so we're going to talk about it. I don't know what basis we're going to cover, but we'll see what comes up. But I'm glad you enjoyed it, right? You enjoyed it?
Yes, I enjoyed this movie a lot. I don't think I've enjoyed a movie this much, especially not an animated feature, since... Oh my gosh.
Akira.
Well, yes, definitely. But if we're talking simply just American animation, not necessarily anime, Spirit, Stallion and Cimarron.
Okay, I haven't seen that in forever, man. Is your volume on or is mine?
I don't know.
I swear I heard something. Anyways.
But yeah, no, not since that movie have I enjoyed one this much. Because it didn't just... Even though the characters were important to the story, they were not necessarily the driving force of said story. It was more like the ideals behind each of the characters that drove the story.
Yeah. So, let's just kind of break it down, man. What were some of your favorite parts of the movie? Either scenes, general concepts, pretty much anything. What about the movie did you enjoy?
I enjoyed the fact that they showed bullying in a very...
real way?
Yeah, real way.
Yeah. Rarely
is bullying the guy who beats you up behind the back end of the school and throws you in the garbage can. That's... more a trope that's become...
It's all the small picking and it's all the small stuff, him, screaming in her ears when she had hearing aids and things like that, and, them just talking shit about her behind her back and excluding her slowly and writing bad things in her notebook. It's really all bullying really comes down to, especially nowadays, you get in way more trouble if you get in a fight at school than you used to, so... Yeah,
so there are far more subtle ways to screw with people that you don't ever really have to touch them to begin with.
Yeah.
And still can be hurtful and drive you to do stupid things.
Yeah. What else did you like about the movie? What are some other things?
I enjoyed the fact that things did not simply fix themselves overnight.
Yeah.
It took a long time. True, they don't exactly say how much time has passed in between each moment where they get together and are shown on screen. But as far as I can tell...
usually a day or two. It's nothing, yeah.
But at certain parts, you can easily tell that it's been at least a couple of months or so. Not since they've last met, but since the last time that we, as the watchers, have seen them on screen. Like the time over summer break, towards the end of the film. You can tell that they've been seeing each other often, but our interactions with them are weeks and sometimes a month apart.
I got you. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
What else? Come on, man. Just pile it out. We'll kind of break them all down. We'll chat about them. I'll list why I love this movie. Here, I'll throw one out there. I fucking love the animation. It is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. And I think I showed you the Gygax version where he talks. I showed you somebody who talked about this. And, in a world where everybody, every anime, you have, it's all about what they're saying and how they're saying it. In this, it was all about the animation of what they were actually doing. It was all the small things you could pick up. Seeing Shoko's hands and what she was doing with that, or
her subtle smiles.
Yeah, it's all the small stuff.
Far more emotion than what you were actually thinking about.
For sure. This movie did really well showing the characters with animation, and honestly, it was just gorgeous. It's a movie. That's what happens with anime movies. There's a higher production value. You're gonna get way more out of it, but it's gorgeous, and they did well with their production. Another thing, the music, fucking phenomenal. I had him watch a YouTube video where they kind of broke down how the show started with simple keystrokes and it slowly built into a song throughout the movie and things like that. And like, it's crazy. Like, they do so well with the music in this. They do so well with music in this movie.
And there's a lot of things about this film you won't really notice until you've seen it probably more than once, or somebody points these things out to you. They're not really out there in your face. They're more subtle hints that you'd catch if you were paying really, really close attention.
Yeah, and some of the things make sense towards the end, and I kind of explained it to you when we were watching, but when we have the final scene when they're at the school festival or whatever it is, and I mentioned to him, and like you notice it because Shoko ends up saying something about it. What's his name? His is another show name. Sorry, Shoya. So Shoya, he even says it. He's like, it's just easier for me to look down. I can't look people in their face. And if you go back and watch the movie again, almost every scene, unless it's with someone that he's close with, is framed with him looking at his feet or looking at their feet. So that's why you see so many feet throughout the movie. And I think that's just really cool. Like when you kind of like think about it, like you can go back and see everything that was actually done to put this movie together. There's so much thought that goes into every single scene in this movie, and the director did a phenomenal job.
Absolutely phenomenal job.
I don't know, man. There's so much I could say about what I love about this movie.
Well, then just say it.
I don't know. Like I'm just like, where do I keep starting? You know, all of the characters were enjoyable. You know,
and even though you didn't see as much character growth in the film as you do in the manga series, because it's a 2-hour movie, you can't put all the shit you put into like a 60
fuck ton in the 2 hours though.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially for the two main characters, which is all we were really worried about. You know what I mean? We see some progression with both the mothers. We see some progression with the siblings. Less progression with the friend group, but you've still got plenty of it. You know what I mean?
True.
I think it was mentioned in the video that I showed you, but they kind of talk about like you kind of have everyone that fits one of your tropes, right? You have the upfront bitchy bitch girl, right? And
super bitchy.
That's Ueno. And then you have the girl who doesn't realize she's the bitch, which is Kawaii. Yeah. And then you have the best friend. What's his fucking name? I can't remember his name.
Gosh,
he looks like Minato with green hair. It's like Sugu. Whatever his name is. I'm sorry, I forgot his name. He's the funniest character in the movie, though. He's hilarious.
Freaking pretends to be Spike at one point with the cigarette.
Yeah,
in his
it's
mouth.
Great. And then you have like the girl who was friends with Shoko when she was younger come back, and she's the other like shy, cowardly character, and like you have all those tropes. And then you have Kawaii's like boyfriend, which is what the guy essentially is. I'm pretty sure they end up dating in the light novel series or whatever I believe is the series. But he acts as a guide for us. Like, he represents what we are in the movie. He doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, he doesn't have the context of how these people all related to each other at one point.
And he doesn't understand what happened when they were younger, you know what I mean? He is the complete outsider. At least the best friend learns about some stuff as you go, you know what I mean? But the boyfriend character, he just is kind of on the outs. He doesn't really know anything about what's going on.
But at the same time, has an entirely different perspective on the situation like we do as the watchers. Yeah. That eventually comes to fruition. Like, everybody starts to realize that, yes, this all happened in the past, and yes, everybody's sorry about this. But we have to get past it, or there's no point in us moving forward. Yeah.
I really just enjoyed every character in this movie. I don't think there was a single character that I was like, we could have done without them. Honestly.
No, everybody
played a part, and I really enjoyed that. There was, like, I feel like in any mainstream, like, anime that you can name or a show with a big cast that you've enjoyed, there's always like one or two characters that you're like, they could not be there and I wouldn't notice, you know? And in this, like, they did very good with the small cast they had, and there was just so much to enjoy about this movie. Every character had important moments, except for the guy who was on the outs. He kind of was just there, to be fair, but he still played a role, and I respect that. But, man, there's so much, like, I don't know, metaphors isn't the right term. Just, like, hidden meanings behind everything, right? In every bit of this movie, there's something hidden meaning. Like, you have the butterfly scene when the grandmother dies, and that's when Yuzuru and Shoko, like, finally, like,
start to see eye to eye.
Yeah, a little more eye to eye, because Yuzuru was so focused on following and trying to help Shoko, and Yuzuru finally realized, like, they need to go their own path after that and everything, and, like, it's a lot. It's a whole lot of a lot.
Finally realizing that she can't save her sister. Her sister has to, at some point, value herself and save herself.
Exactly. Man.
And putting her own life on pause isn't going to fix it. There is a lot to unpack in this film.
There's a lot, but I don't know how to unpack it properly. I feel like there's so many videos that can do it better. I'm so happy that you enjoyed this because I have somebody to like kind of talk to about it because like it's just so good. The animation is fucking beautiful. There's so many like, I don't know, lessons you can take away from the movie. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. This movie like is really sad, but it like I said it to him last night too when we were watching it. It wasn't like make you cry sad. It was like, wow. I feel that. I get that, you know, but it wasn't like, oh my god, why did that happen? It was really just like genuine, like, wow, I relate to that or I can understand that because I feel like there's something in this movie that pretty much anyone can relate to from their school days, you know?
Oh yeah, easily. And then all the, well, again, back to the original themes, forgiveness, wrongdoing, thoughts of suicide, thoughts of not belonging, or reason to exist.
Yeah.
I mean, both of the main characters do not value their own lives at the beginning of this at all.
Yeah, and it's a long journey to get them to value it.
Yeah.
Can we talk about, like, how... I feel like the first, like, major scene from, like... Okay, so, like, you have when they were kids, but, like, post-time skip when his mom finds out that he was trying to kill himself. Like,
oh, my gosh.
That scene carries so much fucking weight. Like, honestly, it does.
On top of the fact how it starts off stupidly nonchalantly.
Yeah, she's like, oh, thanks for the money, da-da-da-da-da.
So how long have you been planning to kill yourself?
And then it just gets, like, really, really deep. And you realize, like, first of all, there's actually adults in this fucking show, which, like...
It's not common in anime to begin with.
It's really not, yeah. And adults actually play a part in this, too. And I think it's something I mentioned on a couple of anime before, but, like, when Shoko got bullied as a kid, what did she do? She went to an adult, you know? And when something stupid happens, the parents will get involved and they'll punish their children accordingly or whatever, and they'll do what they need to do to make up for it, and...
But there was also a level of resentment between the parents because of their children's actions.
Yeah, but that's the realism of it, right? You know, like, that's what would happen. Yeah. And it all comes full circle at the end when Shoko's mom is the one bowing to Shoya's mom and trying to apologize and everything, and, like, it's just deep, man. I don't know. It's a whole lot of a lot, man.
An emotionally deep ocean that we could probably spend months trying to unravel. And
I could watch this movie like once a week and not get bored of it because I just love it that much. Honestly, I enjoy it that much. Can we talk about just for a moment how cute Maria is, though? His niece is the cutest little girl in anime ever. Like, she is just so, like, adorable. I love it.
Oh my god. And then the ridiculous dad of that little girl. Oh my gosh.
He shows up for like 20 seconds in the movie.
But just both interact... Oh, wait, no. All three interactions you get with the man just make you believe he's just a ridiculous personality.
I'm sure he is.
I mean, first time you see him is when Shoya's opening a curtain because the top part of the house is, like, separated by curtains for people because they don't actually have all that much space. And and he sees him just sitting there staring at the wall, just cranking out weights with just the most ridiculous smile on his face.
Yeah, I love that, like, we don't get to see his sister's face at all throughout the whole movie.
No, even
they, like, show her, but not really. Like...
Hide her whole face by putting the little girl in front of her, which, don't get me wrong, the little girl could have showed up a little bit more, this, in my personal opinion, but she shows up at the right times to make it just light enough to where you don't feel like going to the bathroom and crying.
Yeah. So, do you think they portrayed this scenario realistically?
Yes. Very
You think
much
the parents reacted accordingly, all the friends reacted accordingly, you know?
Remember, at first, Shoko's mom said, don't have anything to do with the bastard.
Yep.
She'd completely written him off as a person
ever
deserving I don't blame him either. The kid was a miserable shit at the beginning.
Sure was.
I've punched idiots for less.
I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize is, like, at some point, bullies truly do alienate themselves. And we realize that happening. Everyone kind of turns on him after Shoko leaves. And it's crazy that, like, people don't realize how much harm they're actually doing to themselves by harming others. Like, it's crazy. I don't know. I think it portrays everything pretty realistically. My only part was the whole ending was a little, like, fantasy-esque, where they, like, both wake up with the, you know what I mean, and they run to each other. Like, that was a little... But outside of that, like, everything, this was, like, about as real as it gets, you know? And I respect, like... We've talked about character growth before, and character development, and goddamn did the show do it right, you know? You see it within, like, the first 20 minutes of the movie. You see Shoya go from being a little piece of shit to trying to help people and be, like, a genuinely decent person. He tried to learn sign language. He was trying to make amends for everything he did. Mostly because he was trying to kill himself, and he wanted to, like, be okay when he killed himself, and that's really shitty. But he still progressed and changed.
A shitty attempt as it was, he was making the attempt to be that better person that tries, at least.
Yeah, and it's just not as easy as just being a better person, and he knows that, but he's trying to do what he can. And you understand the reasons behind almost all of his actions almost immediately. All of his friends turned on him, so he started to alienate himself even further because he just felt like he didn't know what a friend really was. And that was one of the big driving themes in the middle of the show, or the movie too, was like, he didn't really know what a friend was anymore because he thought he was friends with these people, and they all turned their backs on him and threw him under the bus for everything they had all done to mess with Shoko. So.
Even though, by far, he had done the worst.
Oh, for sure.
He still probably, even though miserable shit, didn't deserve the alienization that they all gave him as a result of it. Especially that one girl completely nonchalantly just shoved all the blame onto anybody but herself.
Kawaii? Yeah, fuck that
God,
bitch.
that girl pissed me
So
off.
at the beginning, you were like, oh, fuck you, Anna. This girl's a little bitch. And I was like, nah, she's not the worst. I promise you. And then you have Kawaii show up, and she's like, it wasn't me. I would never do that. Why would you blame me? And you're just like, shut up, you bitch.
Damn!
Because I think... I'm not saying Kawaii was the worst to her. I'm just saying you can't pretend and try to shove off what you did onto other people. Like, that was the part that really killed me.
The thing that at least
Ueno was just very upfront about it.
Like,
you know what I mean?
I'm a bitch. But
yeah, even like during the whole Ferris wheel scene, right? Ueno's just like, look, I don't like you.
In fact, I outright hate you. But
let's try to live neutral and coexist. You know. And she did all right at trying that until everything happened, you know? Yeah. But Ueno was never, like, a bitch. And really, she never did anything rude to Shoko once they became adults again, except for after the suicide attempt.
Yeah.
After they grew up, yeah. She didn't do anything to her. She pulled out her earpiece at one time. She didn't, like, throw it or anything. She was going to, and then she realized right away. But, like, she was just very open about how she felt, and I appreciate that. And then you have Kawaii's little sly wannabe bitch ass walking up like, I didn't do anything. It was you guys.
That one part on the bridge where Shoya, he straight up in his sheer believing that everything was his responsibility and just calls everybody out on their bullshit. Just lays it all out in the open as far as he could see it and tell it.
That's realistic too. When you feel cornered and you feel like everything's your fault and you kind of feel like everyone's fighting, you'll call them out. Like, I've been there.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yes. I've been there myself. I'm like, nobody is completely at fault for this situation. Everybody's had their fair share of the bullshit to deal with.
Yeah, you kind of just hit a snapping point, you know, and you just kind of blame other people.
Mm-hmm.
And he accepted his fault, but he was calling them out on their bullshit, you know?
Yeah.
He told, I don't even remember his name, the boyfriend character, he was like, look, you're an outsider, you don't belong here, you know what I mean? And then for Kawaii, he was like, you only care about yourself and, like, how perfect you want to be and blah, 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 blah. You don't actually care about everybody else. And then his best friend, he was like, you pretend like you're on my side, but I don't even really know you. And like,
you don't really even know me.
Yeah, and he kind of just went through and called everyone out. He called Shura, was that her name? Shura... Saharu. It was definitely Hura at the end, but I don't remember if Sahura or Suhura.
Let's just go with Sahura because that one sounds and looks the most. Sahara.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
Yeah, I had to like think about how she signed it. Actually, that helped me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Sahara, he calls her out and he's like, look, you know, you're still a coward. You're still going to run from your fears. You're trying to be better, but you haven't gotten there yet. And, like, yeah, it was super douchey, but everyone clearly needed to hear it because they all, like, took it to heart and thought about it. I don't know, man. That,
And then the moment when he looks up at Shoko and she's got that absolutely heartbroken looking smile on her face, like she knows that everything just exploded again.
Yeah.
And she doesn't really know what to do other than just stay with him for a little while longer and see if she can help him. Even though she's trying desperately not to break apart herself. Although she's not quite.
Well, at that time, this was like right after she tried to confess her love too, and like he couldn't understand her, and it was really fucked up.
Her pronunciation was a little bit off.
Yeah, she said Suki, and she meant to say, oh fuck, what was it? I know this phrase in Japanese, why can't I think of it?
I don't know.
Man, what is it? Fuck. Skides. So, like, she said Suki, and it's ski. Like, it's essentially just ski, but she said Suki. So, that was, like, an awkward scene for her, and this was also right after we found out that, indirectly, and this is something you kind of just had to pick up on by watching it, but, like, she went to the doctor, she starts crying,
and she's completely deaf in that right ear of hers now.
And she's completely deaf, and she's trying really hard to fight it, and that's why she decided to tell him with her voice and stuff, and, like, man... If that, fuck, dude. It's just like all the small shit gets to you in that show. Like, that's a sad moment because she's realizing, you know, she thought she might have a chance at, like, getting her hearing back or getting better or, like, she can, you know, get by with the hearing aids and then you're completely deaf in your right ear.
Something you don't really notice, but that's also the ear that when they were kids, Shoya pulled that.
Yep, and caused the scar. Yeah.
Yeah, and caused that huge scar. So for all we know, he actually is the
cause for it, yeah.
For her ultimate hearing loss completely in that one ear.
Yep.
Because at first she was just hearing impaired. She couldn't really hear all that well.
Yeah.
Even the parts she could hear. Pretty much had to yell at her to get her to hear anything.
And that was fucked up because he was screaming in her ear and stuff. And like
after she had the hearing assistance from the hearing aids, which gave her the chance to hear, but as my dad, who actually does have some hearing problems, in fact is deaf in one of his ears, has told me, you can hear with hearing aids, but you have no directional sense of where the sound is coming from.
Yeah.
You just hear it, and that's it. It's a very strange thing to apparently go through.
Oh, I'm sure. I don't have any crazy hearing problems. I have tinnitus, so I can hear it ringing all the time, but outside of that, it's not, you know, I can still hear properly. But I can't imagine being that, you know? So, if you had to pick, like, one scene in this movie, what was, like, your favorite scene?
My favorite scene is when him and Shoko meet on this bridge outside of her apartment complex for the very first time. And they sit there and they talk for a while and they're just throwing chunks of bread to the fish.
Yeah, so after they meet the first time.
Yes.
Because the first time they meet, they do throw bread, but it wasn't outside of her apartment. It was a different bridge. But
yeah, no.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. First time they meet on this particular bridge that's actually shown in this
I got you.
little screenshot here. But, and they're talking back, well, they're not really talking per se.
They're interacting.
They're just sort of interacting with each other. And he hands her the notebook. And she starts to skim through it, and he, in sort of not really wanting to walk down memory lane just quite yet, starts to try to grab it back from her because he realizes, this is also the same notebook which I freaking wrote a bunch of terrible, mean shit in.
Yeah.
So he tries to grab it back from her, and it ends up falling into the waterway. And ultimately, she jumps in after it. And
with no hesitation, too. She gets in, like, right away.
Yeah. With no hesitation, and you're just thinking, that's a canal, that's deep, right? And he's just like, well, shit, and jumps in right after her.
So that scene also foreshadowed my favorite scene, sadly. He is reaching out to try to grab her from falling in, and just barely misses, and that happens a couple of times throughout the show. But my favorite scene, sadly, is Shoko's suicide attempt, because there's so much like weight in that scene. There's so much going on in that moment, because everything kind of comes full circle. You kind of predict what's going on, and even you predicted when Shoko was leaving her in the fireworks scene, like right away, you're like, no, don't let her go, man. I have a bad feeling about this. Don't let her go. And then you see Shoko not sign back, you know, see you later, I'll be back, or anything like that. Yeah. She says thank you, and then just disappears. And he doesn't think anything of it in the moment, and then immediately when he gets there, he puts it all together, and he's like, oh shit, and she's trying to kill herself, and like, there's a couple times in the movie where he reaches out to grab her and misses, and in that one scene, he finally
manages to catch her, but he's also not entirely strong enough to pull her all up at once either. Which ultimately, we get to see his process of thinking here. He's like, please let me just save her. And from now on,
just this one time, give me this one ounce of strength, and I'll finally, like, grow up, you know? I'll finally start looking people in the eyes. I'll finally start talking to people properly, you know?
I'll take control of my life.
Yeah, he'll be a better person, and it happens. You know, he just barely pulls her up, and then you have the super sad moment of him falling
into the river.
Yeah, and it's fucking rough. And then you find out a few moments later that like there's a quick scene of it, and Ueno confirms it later. But his childhood friends that turned on him, that helped him bully, though, they're the ones who end up pulling him out of the river, and like it's just a whole lot of shit, man. But it's a very heavy scene, and I think that's why I like it, because it's like the pinnacle moment of the movie, right? This is when like everything kind of happens, is right there.
Everything speeds up and then just stops. Yeah. Suddenly, like literally hitting a wall in a car crash.
Yeah.
Everything stops. There is no forward momentum, there's no backwards momentum, there's just everything stops. Shoko is looking at all of the results of her selfishness in trying to attempt suicide, and everybody is really ticked off that he ended up injured trying to save her from her own selfishness. And the weight of the scenes that happen just preceding this one moment are like bricks on your chest.
Yeah. Man.
I mean, Shoko's little sister and her mother literally on the ground, their faces at Shoya's mother's feet in the hospital, begging for forgiveness.
Yep.
And then moments later, outside the hospital, Ueno literally beating the tar out of Shoko.
And then Shoko's mom shows up and they start beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
And then Shoya's mom shows up and is like, hey, calm down, you know, this is not the time, you know, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. I'm so happy you like this movie. You're the first friend of mine that I've actually shown this movie. Because, like, every time I talk about it, people are like, oh, yeah, okay. And then they never watch it. And, like, I'm so happy you enjoyed this.
Dude, this is a gorgeous film. Beautifully well written. The musical score alone I would have watched it for. But on top of the fact that there's amazing character possession, I feel like these are people I know in my real life.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't often get that in anime or animation or any movie, film, anything like that.
Yeah, you learn a lot about them very quickly.
Yeah. And, oh my gosh. Just all the stuff that is shoved into this one movie.
So we've kind of spoiled everything. So if you haven't watched this and you listen to this whole thing, I'm sorry. But if you want to watch this movie. The name of the movie will be in the name of the podcast itself. The English translation is A Silent Voice. But watch it, man. Give me your opinions on it when you guys get a chance, because goddamn, I love this. It's so fucking good.
Look, no amount of us spoiling parts of this film will make it less enjoyable. I assure you, even if this guy right here would have told me the entire story, piece by piece, I still would have wanted to watch it.
I think I did pretty good not giving you spoilers while trying to describe the movie. I was like, look, it's about bullying, attempts at suicide and things like that, and like how bullying really does impact people. It's kind of slice of lifey. It's kind of a little bit of everything. And that really wasn't spoilers, you know?
What I also like about this is they didn't just turn it into a straight-up love story either.
Yeah.
While there are pieces of that obvious in the story,
yeah,
they didn't just turn it into a straight-up love story like 90% of your...
Yeah, it was a story of redemption is what it really was.
Story of forgiveness and redemption, yeah.
at the end, you can assume they end up together, but there's no real, like, they don't kiss or anything at the end. There's none of that. You just get, they're realizing that they want to live their lives with each other, you know? He even says that when he's saving her, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I appreciate the shit out of this movie. It did everything right. I don't know if I really could change it. I'd make it longer, because I want to finish out the backstories of the other characters, because there's supposed to be a little bit where you learn about the friends and what they ended up doing growing up and stuff.
Yeah.
And, we get to learn more about the characters slightly, but I still feel like everything...
I'd say they finished it up nicely for something that they only had really 2 hours.
Yeah, I don't feel like I had any cliffhangers. I have questions I would love to know, you know, about small things, but there's nothing that I'm like, man, I wish they included X, Y, or Z in the movie. It's just, it was good, and I fucking loved it, you know? I'm so happy you enjoyed it. I know I've said that like 3 times now, but like... again, you're the first person that I know that's actually watched this movie now. Even people that I talk to online who watch anime haven't seen this, and it kills me. I'm like, the fuck? Like, this is one of the top 2 anime movies in the past 5 years, 10 years even. Like, when was the last Studio Ghibli film that wasn't Ponyo? Early 2000s, right?
I think the last one was 2010.
Was that Ponyo, though?
No.
What was 2010?
That one about the guy that's trying to make the flying machine. I can't remember the name of it, though.
The Flying Machine. I feel like I'm missing out on a Studio Ghibli film. Hold on. Studio Ghibli movies.
I mean, My Neighbor Totoro...
Poppy from...
Nope, that's not the one.
Okay. Well, these are the...
Here.
The Wind Rises?
Oh, 2013. My bad.
I haven't even heard of this, to be honest. Is this a Miyazaki film? It is. Wow. I haven't heard of this.
There's a lot of
I should watch this.
Yeah, I couldn't actually remember the name of it. I mean, my very first Miyazaki film was Princess Mononoke.
Mine was Totoro, actually. And then I watched Mononoke, and then Spirited Away, and then Kiki's, and then Howl's Moving Castle.
See, all 5 of those ones right at the front right there.
These are all the good Miyazaki ones.
Those were the ones that I watched as a kid growing up.
Yeah.
Princess Mononoke was my first. I watched it at a friend's house. My Neighbor Totoro, my mom actually brought home one night from the movie store when I was a kid. There's actually a lot more. Holy crap.
Grave of the Fireflies. I forgot about that movie.
Oh my gosh. Now that's a depressing one.
Fuck yeah, it is.
That one will kick you right in the feels.
Yes it will. This isn't a Miyazaki film, but it is a Studio Ghibli film.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, like in the past 10 years, I still think this is probably... There's like the 2 big ones. Yeah. I haven't seen The Wind Rises, so I can't say if it'd be... I'm sure it'd be a top 3. I haven't seen it.
That would be the most recent one that I know of. I don't think he's made another one after that one.
Dude, I feel like Ponyo was so much more recent than that. 2008? Was it really 10 years ago?
Yeah, apparently
so. I think I just heard things about Ponyo. We're getting old. Time flies too fast when you're old, man.
Dude, I feel like an old man. My sister's a senior in high school. My youngest one. I still remember when that kid used to chase the dog around the backyard in her nice brand new dress that my mom bought her and cover it in mud.
Sounds like a young child, man. All right, you got any closing things? I don't know. I know this is another short one. Next week's episode, though, like we discussed last podcast, will be full length. This was just another short one because we watched the movie. We had some free time today. I think I'm going to have him watch Kimi no Wa next. That'll be like the next big anime movie we watch. We might get around to watch some more of these. You know, I've seen a lot of these, but not anything past this. So, like, I've watched almost all the Hayao Miyazaki films, but I haven't seen all of the other ones.
All the Studio Ghibli films.
Yeah, I haven't seen all there's a lot of them. So.
Oh, gosh, yes.
But, yeah, you got any closing comments on...
On this movie? There's... Oh, my gosh. I'll put it this way. If you don't want to watch the film, which you're missing out on so much, and no offense, but you're an idiot, listen to the musical score for this film. It is gorgeous.
It's amazing. I think, especially if you're going to watch this, I suggest you watch some YouTube videos after, too, because it'll break down a lot of the stuff that you've seen, because it's really hard. Like, there's so much to digest because of how much stuff goes into every single scene. And there's a lot of YouTube videos that kind of help break it down and give you some more information about what you just experienced. Because there's so much. Like, it
really is.
There's so much. Yeah, in 2 hours, there's so much content that it's not over. You don't feel like overloaded by it, but you definitely respect how much is there, you know? You understand that you're not going to understand everything the first time through, and you might not understand it the second time through. So if you don't want to watch it 3 times, I suggest you just watch some YouTube videos, let it break it down for you.
This movie is like meeting a person for the first time.
Yeah?
Yeah, because you're not going to understand everything about an interaction you have with a person the very first time. You might not understand everything you need to know about that person for years to come. It's literally the story of getting to know and understanding another person.
I respect that. I appreciate that viewpoint.
And there's, truth be told, there are times, like, have you ever had that moment when you meet a person and you're like, I don't like this person at all when you first meet, but a couple years down the road you start to understand more about them, and you don't, that hate and misunderstanding starts to go by the wayside. You start to gain, maybe it starts off as a grudging respect for the other person.
Yeah.
And eventually will turn into you actually just fully respect them.
Yeah.
This is very much a movie.
Well, luckily this wouldn't take years to understand, but...
True, but this movie very much reminds me of that interaction between people.
Yeah. It's
literally getting to know the other person from their point of view.
Yeah.
Which is the whole story between the two main protagonists of the story.
Do you know what would be really cool? If they redid this movie from Shoko's point of view.
Oh gosh, I would watch the shit out of that.
It'd be a very quiet movie, but I would watch or even give me some books. I'll read the books from her point of view.
Easily.
For sure. Because this was just, it was fun, because the 90% of this was from his point of view. You got bits and pieces of Shoko, but like 90% of it was Shoya's point of view.
Or even from the friend's perspective, because quite a few of them are actually there the entire time.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you could pick one of the people from the childhood, who would it be?
Oh shit. Bitch girl. What's her name? Neno?
Ueno?
Ueno? Yeah.
Ueno, yeah.
Ueno. Easily I'd pick it from her perspective.
I think I would pick Sahara, actually. Because she gets to see progression we get a third person perspective of seeing how Ueno grows, and we get to see a little more directly how Shoko was bullied, because I'm sure Sahara went through a lot of the same things. That's part of why she left. And we kind of get to see her viewpoint. I don't know. I liked her as a character, and I wish we kind of got some more of her progression. But I think from her perspective would be kind of interesting, especially like showing up one day and seeing like, wow, why are they together? You know what I mean?
And I mean, I don't really have an interest in seeing how the red-haired kid.
Yeah.
The outside. We already see it from the outsider's perspective.
Movie.
That's the movie. So we don't really need to see it from his perspective per se. Although seeing it from the girl that always wants to throw problems on everybody else's thing. What is her name?
Kawaii.
Thing. You actually
I would hate to watch hers.
I sort of want to, all the same, because I want to understand why. Why does she feel...
I feel like reading her book perspective would be like, wow, why did they do that? They're all such bitches. Why do they do that? And I feel like that just would be so annoying.
But I also want to understand why she as a character is like this. Why does she feel the need to throw the blame on everyone else? And
I can see that.
I mildly understand why, but at the same time, there has to be a bigger reasoning for it. I mean, people do not just automatically feel like they need to throw the blame on everybody else.
No, I understand that. But we kind of understand her thing is she thinks she's perfect or whatever, and she puts her blame on everybody else, and that was kind of something Shoei mentioned. I'm not saying, like, I'd be down to read it. I just don't know if I'd enjoy it. We'll see. But I think that'd be cool. My other closing comments, this is my favorite anime movie of all time. It's 10 out of 10 on my anime list for me. I'm kind of bummed that it got overshadowed by Kimi no Wa in the same year. I don't know. I've watched both, and I think Kimi no Wa is cool, but I don't think it's the same. I think Kimi no Wa is a different art style, too, and it's a lot more beautiful. You haven't seen it yet, so we'll talk about it when it comes. But I just think this movie deserved more praise than what it actually got. I believe they came out in the same year. Let me check that real quick, actually. I'm curious. That all being said, though,
I actually don't have much else to say, mainly because I don't even know how to put anything else I have to say into words without sounding like I'm repeating myself.
Ooh, I might be wrong. Hold on. I think they came out a year apart. No, they came in 2016, both of them. So yeah, I'm kind of bummed that one got more praise than the other, but I will say, like, they are different art styles. This is definitely more like, oh, you're watching a sketch. When you're watching Kimi no Wa, it is just beautifully done. And, ooh.
You might find me with a couple of
7 volumes.
You might find me with this book in my hands next time around.
Alrighty, well, before I start shopping for manga, I think that's all I have to say on the movie. It's one of my favorites. If you guys enjoy slice of life, real life events, really, like, this is what would really happen in this situation. If you know anybody who's deaf by chance and wants to watch the movie, I'm sure they'd really enjoy it, actually. If you can find, like, a sub version for them to read, and there's a lot of sign language and things like that involved. Bullying isn't brought up. I don't know. It's kind of a little bit of comedy, a little bit of love, a little bit of slice of life. It's just fucking amazing. Like, don't expect a big ol' action movie, and if that's not what you're expecting, if you're going in, like, expecting to just experience a good story, I promise you that's what you'll get. So I think that wraps it up for us. It was another short one. I apologize. Next week will be good. If you watch this movie, let me know. Let us know what you thought, who you liked, that kind of thing. That all being said, thank you guys so much for watching episode 6 or listening to episode 6 of the Getsuga Talk Show. I am Mitch. This is
Andrew.
And we're signing off, friends. I'll catch you guys next time. Have a good one.